Hey there, people. How's it going? We're gonna jump into some arena play, and I will show you a little deck that I've made here. It is mono blue. Some of my favorite spells in Magic are blue spells, so we will get into that. But first, I want to talk a little bit about arena and my thoughts on it. It's hard to really talk to anyone about Arena at my local game shop, for example. No one really plays. I'm mostly playing with modern players, and they all seem to not enjoy it or find any enjoyment out of it. And that's okay, but I've been enjoying it. I think it's a good system, as long as you're not dumping money into it. Maybe here and there if you want to get a draft going, but besides that, I wouldn't be putting lots of money into this. If you want to draft, you can build decks, win gems and coins, and get your drafts going like that, which is what I've been doing. But there's a couple things I want to discuss about the hand and randomizing system. From what I know and have heard, I can't really verify this. I haven't looked too much into it, but as far as I can tell, it is not completely random. For example, drawing your opening hands, there is a balancing system where it will give you a sort of balanced hand and lands. I don't think I've ever seen a hand with no lands. Actually, once. I think it's been one time out of, gosh, it's had to have been 100+ games I've played. No games with all lands. I know that's never happened, but there's been one where it's all been spells. And that just simply is not in the case of Paper Magic. If you're familiar with Paper Magic, often your mulligans are to balance out that issue. And, in a format like Modern, mulliganing is not that bad. Going to 6, never really that bad. Going to 5, kind of bad. Going to 4, pretty bad. And after that, you might as well not mulligan. But that's one thing that I've found that's kind of annoying is, for example, I built a green-blue deck that used Tarrasque, and I had 2 of Tarrasque, and I would end up, it was the highest cost spell, 10 mana, and I was ramping into it, but it would always put a Tarrasque in my opening hand, and that happens about 8 or 9 games in a row. That was pretty annoying. It also seems that it kind of alters the way you're going to build your deck because, if you're ending up with a balanced hand, then there are just certain corner cases and little edges that you can kind of use that to your advantage. And it really does alter your deck building. Not drastically. It just kind of makes it more basic Magic. That's a general, for lack of a better term I could put it, is it just feels to sort of level and even things out. Whether that's good or bad, kind of an opinion-based thing, but I don't know. So this deck here, I'm just going to call it Dirty Boy Blue because, it's mono blue. It plays a bunch of counter spells. It plays Brazen Borrower, which is an amazing tempo card. Really love this card. So really the idea of the deck is pretty simple. Turn 1 or turn 2, we hope to have a Come to a River or Brazen Borrower to get rid of any 2-drops back to their hands. Hopefully we have a counter spell on turn 3 to take care of any nasty 2-drops that we would like to counter. Scion of Stygia could be replaced with something else, but every once in a while that card's cool. But basically just tempo them out and then get into turn 4 and 5 when we can really start to get our wizard class going, drawing cards. We got a Mole Drifter Draw some cards, card advantage, contact other plane. Pretty basic. It's nice to get a Grazalix down, start drawing cards off attacks. A lot of the time, Spectral Sailor is a very unassuming one drop that people just kind of let go, but the card advantage is very real off a Spectral Sailor. Drawing a card for 4 mana at instant speed. Very nice. Really like that one. Memory Lapse really could just replace that with the 3 mana counterspell, but sometimes it helps. This one I actually just threw in here earlier because it's supposedly a more powerful card, but honestly would kind of just like another Disallow or something, but I don't know. It's kind of a janky control deck, but it works. Charm Sleep for the creatures that do hit the field and don't have any answer for them. Could probably go to one of those into another Disallow, but so yeah, pretty basic deck. Most of the time we're winning with Brazen Borrower, just hitting 3 per turn, or if our Cloudkin sticks, also draws a card. So, Brazen Borrower itself, I don't think this deck would really function that well without this card. This card alone for 5 mana, bounce a permanent, flash in, a 3/1 flyer. Kind of unassuming in itself, but again, this deck is always winning with this card when it does win. So, yeah, we're just going to play some games and have some fun countering stuff because that's fun. I still haven't figured out why it's not fun. Some people don't think so, but I enjoy getting a little counterspell action going every now and again. Apparently we're running at a horrible frame rate. Oh well. So this deck is definitely weak to good aggro decks that have solid turn 2 and 3 plays. Okay, this hand is a little weak, but we're just going to roll with it. We definitely would like to see a counter spell of some type. Always checking my opponent's deck. A lot of people play more than 60 cards. I would never advise for that. But, people do it. But anytime I see the special sleeves and a 60-card deck, I'd like to think my opponent knows what's going on. All right, a Scry lands. We like to see those. No turn 1 or 2 plays. Hexproof. Okay, so we're starting out sort of not good. So that means if our opponent is smart, they're going to start hitting us for 2 a turn. Cultivate, so they're ramping into something big. So we're just going to go ahead and let them do that. We don't have a counterspell anyways, so it doesn't really matter in this situation. I think our opponent is starting to know what's going on. They kind of want to see. We're going to save our Brazen Borrowers, flash this in, and offer a trade, which I'm sure they won't take because I bet they really want their Druid. I would be happy with a trade in this situation. Our opponent taking a little bit, which is surprising. I was expecting them just to, take it. So we don't have a counter spell. We're going to go ahead and play Wizard class, which is Good card advantage. And we're just going to wait. One thing I don't want to see here is another hexproof creature. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and remove that. That's fair. Huh. Okay. So I think, yeah, I think we just go ahead and flash in a Brazen Borrower and get in for 3. I'm assuming they're going to have another way to remove this. But we're going to go ahead and charm their 5/5 to sleep. Get in for 3. See what they have going. Ooh, this is not good. So suddenly, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to come back from this one. If this is any target, to target opponent, it is. So we're going to charm your Burning Sun's avatar to sleep as well. Our opponent is probably not feeling good. Trample and haste, 5. Okay. So now we're going to be able to bounce it and counter, which is where we want to be. We're going to go ahead and use You Come to a River because Brazen Borrower is ideally better. And now we have a counter spell. This person seems to be playing really big threats, which is actually kind of good now in this position that we have them in. Ooh, haste and hexproof. I think we've lost this game. This game. Okay, so haste on their turn. So what we want to find, that is ideal, although we didn't hit a land drop to cast both of these. That is unfortunate. So it looks like we're going to take another 3. And again, I don't think we're going to win this game. If they pass, that's good. We're going to go ahead and counter that. It's a big threat. We're going to go into the Mad Mage to gain 1 life. Okay, come to a river. That's good. So now we want to bounce that, but we also want to find a counter spell, and that's just simply not possible with the mana we have. So I think I'm going to go ahead and call this game for our opponent. So let's hope that we draw a land and then a counter spell. That's exactly what we found. So we're going to go ahead and bounce this guy because he is hexproof on their turn only. He has haste, so he's going to come in and smack us, which is exactly what... Okay, he has another haster. So yeah, this is the kind of deck that beats control decks. And I think that is game. But you know, we tried. We did our thing and we tried. So now, if they don't play a creature pre-combat and just swing with that, yeah. Okay. So we're getting another turn here, but I still don't think it's... yeah. All right, GG. So that's the kind of deck that beats a control deck. Big, hasty threats. Not exactly how we want to kick off the video, but magic is magic. Let's go again. I'm confident we'll get a couple wins here. There are some decks that simply just cannot keep up the threats. That deck, however, I don't think I would beat that deck very often. That was a very greatly positioned deck against ours. Okay, so we have a counter spell. We have Wizard's Class. I'm going to say keep. I believe the opponent mulligans. Always good to see as a control player. Let's start off with our Wizard Class. Now, depending on what they show us, oh, blue mana. Okay. We might have a mono blue matchup here. Okay. That is a black spell, and we will counter that. All right, an early concession. You know, some people are just not cut out to play against control, and that is not something that we are upset about. Alrighty. Mad Hamish 56. Good luck to you. Okay, this is a decent hand. As long as we draw a land, we will be in a good position. As we put a creature, that many +1 instead. Okay. So trying to go for some counter combos. We're going to go ahead and flash in Spectral Sailor just to see what kind of damage we can get in throughout the turn. Okay, so they're playing enchantments, which is pretty good for us. That means that whatever threats they do play are probably going to be later on, I'm assuming. But we have You Come to a River, so we'll be able to bounce whatever they do play. We really don't care about these. This seems to be a mono green deck. So ideally, oh, squirrels, okay. Okay, so they're going to be gaining, or scrying rather. The gaining life would not be what we'd want to see. So we're going to go ahead and bounce this, even though they get a scry. They actually could have just played it again, which I don't know why they didn't. That was probably a misplay upon them. We actually probably should have waited a turn just to bounce it anyways. But now we have a counter spell ready to go. I'm not sure if we even care about this, but we're going to go ahead and counter it because it seems to be the only thing that they have playing right now. Opponent is considering their life. Okay. So they went ahead and played to get some tokens. We'll be able to bounce another one of those. We're also going to be... let's scry. Most of the time we're going to the Lost Mines of Phandelver. Wizard class is fine. Play land. Get in for 1. I think we're going to go ahead and tap 1 down before combat. And then see if they would like to trade. Hopefully we get 10 or above, which we did. Okay. We will now trade. If they have a buff spell, this will be pretty bad for us, and I'm kind of assuming they do. They do. Which is okay, because we would rather not take damage. Okay. So now we definitely would like to bounce the token. Life total still at 20, what we always like to see. Okay. We'll go ahead and bounce this guy. Give us an extra turn. Get in for 1. Probably should have played Grazilax there, but that's alright. I think bluffing a counterspell is more important here. Will he sacrifice his own creature? So he's got better things to worry about. That resolves. I could draw a card at the end of turn, but I think flashing in Brazen Borrower is better. Just simply for the fact of damage. This seems to be a race. Hopefully we will draw some action next turn. Okay. Our opponent definitely making some squirrels. They are tapped out, so we're going to go ahead and flash in Brazen Borrower. So now we're going to drop Grazilax. Get in for 4. Hope to draw a counterspell, which we did not. So now we're just going to go ahead and draw. Kind of a bad position for us. There's our counterspell. So we can block. No real threat here. Spell can't be countered. So the counterspell did not matter anyways. I believe it has... Okay. No hexproof. So it looks like we're taking 4. I'm going to go ahead and throw him in the way because our opponent seems to be very aggressive. And they are drawing a card per turn as well, which is not really good for us. We don't have any reach. I think we're just going to go ahead and attack. We're going to bounce a token, which they seem to be in no shortage of. This one is still possible for us, but we're slowly losing ground with what our opponent's building up. I do like if we just draw a card at the end of turn, but it looks like we're going to take 15 here, which puts us to 1. Not a good position. And that is game. And it looks like we have been sweeped. Our only answer is unsummon, which we did not draw. GG opponents. So there we have another deck that is pretty decent against control. I felt like I could have had a couple of better draws, but that is Magic. All right, first two are losses. Not exactly how we planned it, but what can you do besides draw better? Let's see if we can bump our resolution down. Okay, there we go. Now I think we'll be running a little bit smoother. This hand is fair. 53 cards. Opponent mulligans. Never a bad thing. Mulligans to 5. Okay. So now if they have a 1-drop, which they do not, that would be bad for us. Wizard class is fine. Decent draw. I'm going to go ahead and play out the Wizard class, even though I can use Brazen Borrower on this turn, assuming they have a 2-drop. Okay, so they're going to get a thing. We're going to go ahead and draw a card, because next turn I wouldn't want to do that on that turn, because they would just get a 1/1. I'm fine with taking 2. Okay, Charmed Sleep, not bad. So it seems they're kind of aggressive, so they're going to get another 2/2 Knight. So I think what we're going to do is just pass, hold up our counter magic, hold up a blocker. So we could have countered that, but I think okay. So opponent is being safe, which is good for us. Now we're going to go ahead and just flash this in. Kind of an unassuming bad turn for us, but hey, we're doing stuff. Let's go ahead and get in for 2. Sort of an awkward sequence for us, but I'm not really worried about my life total. So now we're definitely going to bounce one of the knights and hope that they don't have a 5-drop. So that is a 5-drop we are going to have to counter. Feeling a little bit better about this. We are going to have a Charmed Sleep for one of the knights. So now 5. Okay. So we're going to bounce a knight. He goes away. We're going to get in for 2. Going to hold up this other blocker to trade with the knight. And hold up our counter magic. The opponent did go to 5, so kudos to them for mulliganing properly. This was a good hand for our opponent. Okay, so that deserves a counter. 4/4 angels are nothing we want to see. We're going to go ahead and trade with the knight, and there's an early concession from our opponent. I think they kind of saw the writing on the wall. We had some card draw, we had more counters, we had an answer for their threat on the board, and then simply our card advantage would probably hold them back. Pudding Zebra. This hand is a little short, but Brazen Borrower is amazing, so we're going to keep. 57, more than 60 in their deck, questionable. Go ahead and play out the Wizard class. Not interested in unsummoning on turn 2. Menace, a 1/3. Not really worried about a 1/3 right now. Rats you control have Menace, Rat Colony. We're going to go ahead and unsummon the 1/3 just to hold our opponent back on mana and not take 1 this turn. We're going to opt. Cloudkin is fine. Now I do like using our Scion here before combat, just to tap Rat Colony down. Okay, it's fine. We remember that card. Another Rat Colony. Okay, those are going to get bigger. We're going to go ahead and tap the one that can attack. They also have Menace, which is kind of bad for us. So I think now we're going to wait with our double boomerang, as it were. Lots of rat colonies. That one we don't like. So we're going to go ahead and bounce your rats. Don't like discarding a card, but that is Magic. No blocks. An opponent gets in for the first hit of the game. So we're at 5 here. We could pay 3 to draw 2 instead of playing our Cloudkin. No attacks. Starting to fall behind on board. Yeah, rat colonies are not good. An unsummon is nice. So we could go unsummon. I do like just playing Cloudkin, hopefully drawing a counterspell. Mole Drifter is almost just as good. So now we're gonna, at this point, use our creatures as removal. Rat colony. And this is starting to look not good. So we're gonna go ahead and bounce the menace so we can block 2 of the rat colonies. We are taking 8, which is not that great. So we have a counter spell saved for the menace creature, which we desperately need. This position does not feel good. I think our opponent has us. We're going to go ahead and gain a life for what it's worth. Another one of those boys, and that is game. Boy, we are just getting sweeped on. That is what is happening. We are not losing hope, though. We will continue on. It's about 6 a.m. here. The morning is coming up. And we are enjoying some magic. So 2 unsummons. Kind of a weaker hand, but why not keep? Opponent has 55, a little over 60. That's a blue. We may have a control mirror here, which this deck does not do well against certain mono blue control decks or splashing decks that splash. We're going to flash in Brazen Borrower just to show them a threat. Almost doesn't matter what they take here, and they pack it up. Alrighty. Certainly not very proud of an early concession, but I'll take that. And the same person once again. I wonder if they will just instantly scoop it up for us. Going to 6. Kind of saw that one coming. Hope we aren't paired up with the same person as to. Come on, Arena. Okay. That's someone else. Okay, Brazen Borrower into triple counterspell. Never upset about that. And a Squirrel deck, which we just got our bums supremely handed to. We're just going to go ahead and let them play what they will. Bounce your Squirrel. I would rather get hit for 1 a turn than 2 a turn. Here's your counter spell. Another counter spell, always fine. Alright, and our opponent has a decent clock right off the bat. So now we are going to have to offer up a trade, I think, this early. But I really don't want to see another thing that I can't counter, but I don't think I can take that risk. So we're just going to have to offer up a trade as it will. If they play another Squirrel Sovereign, we are in not a good position. Can expect buff spells from a mono green deck, and there is another Sovereign, exactly what we did not want to see. I'm going to go ahead and say the opponent has this game. I was about to say if they have a buff spell. And our opponent has simply just produced too many permanents that we can answer. So now we're going to have to trade and block. Or block and trade, rather. Okay. Fair enough. And I believe that is game. Very good on our opponent on that one. That was very well played. That was probably the better Squirrel deck I've seen so far. And it is just simply not turning good for us right now. Okay, 60 cards. We're going to mulligan this hand because I don't feel like waiting till turn 3. There's a better one. Let's pitch the Wizard class. Scrylands, something we're happy to see. Unless our opponent gets into a meaty, hasty threat late game. And there are some shrine decks that are pretty mean. So, it's going to go ahead and shock it, a smart player. That it's no 1/1 flyer to sneeze at. And Scute Swarm. limited on options here. I don't like holding up the counter spell because I want to prevent their attack. Okay. So a decent position here. I like what I'm seeing. Even though they're going to get more of these insects, what we're worried about is the buffs. We're going to go ahead and pass. We would love to see a 7 drop. So they're going for a bunch of insects, which if they do get a lot, we just simply cannot handle that. And if they swing out, so they did not swing out, which is interesting. I'm almost tempted to cycle this now, but I'm going to go ahead and pass. There's Brazen Borrower. So, I'm going to pass, even though I kind of like attacking and offering a trade. Okay. So they are going to go for the attacks. So we're going to go ahead and bounce this. We probably should have done it last turn if we were thinking quicker. But at least we can flash it in, or better yet, counter it. We definitely want to counter that. Wrong counter spell. Scry. A land doesn't seem good. We need a bit more action right now. We're getting hit for 4. First attack of the game. Okay. So now we're gonna hopefully get in for 3 and draw. I know this leaves us vulnerable, but we're sort of desperate for resources here. Okay, does not feel good. But we're able to counter something in Flash and Brazen Borrower next turn, which can compete with their clock. Especially if we draw a couple bounce spells. We really want to keep them from doing that specifically. More insects is not good. Looks like they're holding up whatever they could be playing, and that's what you should be doing against a control deck. So we're going to take 4. Next turn we're not going to attack. Hopefully they don't play anything, which they don't. If they have a removal spell, that is not good for us. Any direct damage in red takes out Brazen Borrower. Or Mortify. But we can go ahead and counter that, because we really would like our clock. And suddenly we have a window of opportunity here. We're going to get in for 3. Or not. Kind of good for us because our opponent is showing us that he also is a little desperate. Memory Lapse really should be a hard counter. This is not good. I might actually change this one out after this game. So we're going to memory lapse. He's going to respond by tapping. And all of a sudden, it looks like our opponent has the game. Brazen Borrower cannot block things on the ground. So we will draw a card. And that is unfortunately not going to do it for us. They are one creature away from killing us. We're going to counter this. It doesn't really matter though because they have the game. And I'm sure they're well aware of that. And there it is. Once again, beat. You know, I was doing better before I started recording. It really seems we are hitting all of the decks that we don't want to see. But that's okay. Wow, we've been almost playing for an hour. It feels like about 20 minutes. All right, let's go in. Insects and squirrels. Not a good matchup. All right, our opponent's Darkman. So here we go. 90 cards in the deck. All right. Two Brazen Borrowers, 3 counter spells. Feeling okay about this one. Ajani's Pridemate. Not a card we like to see. We're going to wait to bounce it. Ajani's Pridemate, a great card. Okay. Basic Plains. It appears our opponent is using spells to really find what he needs in his 90 cards. These are the kind of decks that it seems this Dirty Boy Blue deck has no problem with. And now we are set up for a counter. They have a 0/4 wall. We literally do not care. Go ahead and counter. I would not put them past an early concession here because Ajani's Pridemate is a great card. We like Mulldrifter. Okay. So we're going to hold up our Mulldrifter because we would like to counter something. Gaining 2 life. They really wanted that Ajani's Pridemate. And that one, I am sorry. Let's go ahead and make a 1/1. Okay. So for 5, we can bounce whatever they play next. That we would just rather not waste a counter spell on. So that is one we're going to bounce at end of turn. Or actually, devotion less to 5. So currently devotion is 3. Okay. So I'm almost wanting to bounce the golem token just to start getting in 1 per turn. But I have a feeling they're going to show us more than a 0-4 wall eventually. So we're going to hold back on that. Sleep is fine as well. But I do like evoking Muldrifter to get our land drop. Which we will almost certainly find. So now, okay, they're going for the 1-5 wall. There's our land drop. No attacks. Hopefully the opponent has a land in hand. And they didn't draw a nice juicy threat. Okay. So now we're going to... Oh, that's still a land, which is unfortunate. So we're going to have to... Let's go ahead and bounce the golem token now. Take 3, the first attack of the game. So they activate that every turn, which is sort of unfortunate for us. But our clock will be able to challenge theirs. All right, that's what we like to see. Okay. Now our clock starts. This doesn't matter for them unless that counter stays on a land, which I am unaware of. It does stay. How annoying. Okay, so we're getting hit for 5 a turn. Meanwhile, we have them at 6. We might have to use our draw 2, discard 2. But I like that we can hold up a counter spell. This is kind of becoming dead weight. So we're going to go ahead, draw 2 and discard. If we draw disallow, we can counter the activated ability. Not exactly what we wanted to see, but we'll get rid of this. Looks like we'll be taking 4. So they have us dead in 4 turns. We have them dead in 3 turns. So as long as this is what they keep doing, we'll be fine. Ooh. Drawing some dead weight. Turns out the goblin was good for us. They should have activated the creature first. Unless they can activate in response, which I believe they're going to. That was a misplay on our opponent's part. Glad we held up our counterspell. Now he's getting in for 5 a turn, speeding up his clock. Hopefully this doesn't have lifelink. It doesn't. Okay. So this is slowly becoming a threat. Memory lapse is okay. Pretty close game. Lifelink and haste. Ooh. Good job, opponent. Oh yeah, I forgot. We got to change out memory lapse. This one keeps being our last card and is just simply not good in this format. If our opponent doesn't attack with everything, questionable here on our opponent. Because it looks like they need to swing everything here to win. I believe they are slow playing us. Okay. Oh, they are just playing it safe. I see. They're going to be able to tap something down next turn. They're going to gain 2. Get in for 4. They wanted to gain 4. I see. So they were playing... That was actually a smarter defensive move. And we just simply did not have what it takes. Our opponent trying to gain more edge, but hey. We simply can't allow that. Our opponent going in for overkill. I guess we deserve that, being a dirty boy blue player. Questionable last attack there, but they had what it took. All right, we are properly getting steamrolled. That game was a little bit slower of a steamroll, but it felt good within the first 5 turns or so. And we forgot to take out memory lapse. They have Cryptic Command as their sleeves. Oh boy. Will we be getting into a control matchup? Planes with a 1-drop in Cleric class. Cleric class can get out of hand with certain cards. Paladin class. Okay. Paladin class. Let's be sure of what these do here. Oh, that's not good. That's not good at all. Oh, man. Wow. I think our opponent just won on turn 2. Eventually, we will be able to sort of get out of this. So eventually these are not going to do anything, but for the time being, oh, so it cost more on their turn. Okay. So as long as we draw enough mana. Okay, that was not bad. We don't have the counter spells we want, but can't get everything you ask for. Hopefully they play a nice... So what are we at? We're at 5. Let's go ahead and bounce a Paladin class. The one that's leveled up. And then flash in a Brazen Borrower, because that thing's going to make our spells expensive. Okay. Getting in for 3. So here we can bounce this. Now we're just playing a lovely little tempo game with our opponent. He's looking at our Brazen Borrower. I'm assuming some damage or exiling is coming. Let's flash in a Brazen Borrower. Seems to be a lot of non-creature spells for our opponent. So we're going to ditch the counterspell plan. Paladin class is fine. Creatures you control get 1/1. I'm assuming some token game is coming up. We're going to get in for 6. Hold up a counterspell. Hope that we don't have to use it. Always enjoy countering Aluris. And now simply we're at the point of the game where I don't think the Paladin class matters. I was unaware of that card. That is a nifty card there. Create a 2/2 white griffin. Okay, bad for us. Let's get in for 6. Let's play our land. 7, so that will allow us to find a counterspell. Which I forgot we actually won't be able to play. Let's try and find a counterspell. I think, okay, there's a counterspell. But on our turn, So yeah, we're going to go ahead and slap the Grazilix down, which forces them to find an answer because we have lethal on board. No creature spells this entire game. Not sure what our opponent is going for. But that's game, and there's our first official win. I'm sure if our opponent had some creature game, he could have offered a little bit more of a challenge. And let's get back in it. All right. Not a bad hand. No counter spell, but we will take it. We do have some tempo. No 1-mana plays. That one's fine. That one is really fine, actually. I think we're just going to go ahead and bounce it. Even though it didn't do anything, I kind of want to slow them down. There's the kitty. Okay. So those get 1/1 for each. I think I'm not going to Charm Sleep it just yet. We're going to go ahead and pass. Red mana. Not too good for us. Okay. Has a flyer. So we're going to bounce the cat, which he can no longer play this turn. Flash in our flyer. Charm Sleep your flyer. And get in for 1. Which he gains back anyways. So not the best for us. Kind of have a feeling that our opponent might be running some enchantment destruction. Or that. Oh, that's interesting. He could have taken off the enchantment, but for some reason didn't. I guess he likes his clock with that anyways. We're going to get in for 1. So here's where I think we're going to start. We're going to flash in Brazen Borrower and take 3. This card, however, we don't like, and really hope that we can find a counterspell off Opt, which we didn't. And suddenly our opponent has a pretty fine advantage. So now we need to find a bounce and a counter. There's our counter spell. Another sailor. There's our bounce. Get in for 1. Opponent sizing up our Spectral Sailor. Give him another Spectral Sailor. Now we need to find a counterspell. Unsummon. Almost as good. That's not good either. The life gain has definitely kept our... So yeah, we're going to have to use our unsummon on our own creature to block the cat. Using him as a removal spell, as it were. One Spectral Sailor is good enough for me. And there's our Charm to Sleep, and suddenly we are back in this game. Now I do like flashing in Brazen Borrower rather than drawing a card. Looks like our opponent likes drawing cards too. Another cat. Okay. So now we have a clock. We have a counterspell. We got our land drop. That's unfortunate. But what we really don't want to see is a big creature. Now, end of turn, we're going to get to draw. Another counterspell. This is fine as well. Land drop is good. Opponent not playing anything. Not sure if our clock beats his with... Ooh, double land drop. And suddenly we are back in it. The lifelink is rather annoying, but I think we can push through it. Definitely not that one. Scrying. Another counterspell is fine for creatures. Our opponent has us on a 9-turn clock. Brazen Borrower is amazing. And this is exactly what we needed. All right. Now we are where we want to be. We have something to block the little kitty. Okay. Spectral Sailor doing work. Probably should have flashed in Brazen Borrower. We're at 8 mana, so we can afford to draw if we need to, or flash in Brazen Borrower. That deserves a counterspell. Chained creature can attack or block. That's fine, because we got a better one for you. Hopefully no buff spell. We trade. We flash and Brazen Borrower. And suddenly we have the advantage. Say, let's hold up like we have nothing. 4 mana definitely finds us what we need. He's passing. And I think we have this game in the bag. We are simply now just drawing a lot of cards for our opponent here. Let's play Wizard class. Let's draw some more cards. Another Brazen Borrower. Grazilix. And I think we have this game wrapped up. Looks like our opponent is just passing. Flashing our Brazen Borrower. I believe that is game. All right, good game opponent for playing it out. That, I would say, would be an ideal game of how the deck is supposed to function. We're going to make a couple changes. The memory lapse needs to go. I would like to see another disallow. Oh yeah, we don't have any more rare slots, unfortunately. I think we have 4 of those. Okay, I'll take that over the hard counter. I do kind of like just throwing an opt in there. Actually, over Scion. Let's make it 3 ops. Okay. Playing 61 cards like a BK, but I don't think that's going to hurt us too much. Opt is always good. And we always seem to win without the Scion. Okay. No counters, no turn 2 bounce. Let's go ahead and mulligan this one. Kind of a worse hand, but we do have opt. There's our turn 2 play. Go ahead and opt at the end of their turn to see what they're up to. Double mountain, or island. Whenever you cast a blue spell, target player mills 2 cards. Okay. That is actually okay. So we have the bounce. We're gonna go ahead and let them play a blue spell and mill us because we like our hand. Doesn't really matter what they mill, especially 2 cards. I'm assuming they're mono blue, and they have an opt as well. Hey. So actually playing Wizard class was a bad idea because I wanted to bounce this at the end of turn. And they got some more milling, which is okay. Not so okay. So now we're going to have to bounce in response to this and counter that because they're going to have more blue spells than land drops. Divination. We'll respond with our You Come to a River because they are tapped out, so they're not playing this turn. Which is fine. Divination, a good card. And they are well on their way to milling us if we don't get a clock on them. Missed a land drop, not a good thing. But we'll go ahead and counter their enchantment. We might have to bounce that eventually. Ooh. Ooh, this is actually not good for us. Let's go ahead and scry 1. See what is left, what remains on our deck. Okay, they're going to mill us some more. Which is fine. I like the counterspell. They're going to play their enchantment. Once again, we did not find a land drop, which really hurts us. We can survive some more milling. I wonder if they have any blue spells for us. I'm sure they do. So this is a pure mill deck, so I'm going to go ahead and disallow the milling. Sure, they have another draw spell for us. All right, Ashiok is not exactly what we want to see. We're not searching our library good enough. I feel like dropping a threat for us would have been better early game. And not another land drop. This is unfortunate. We're in a bad position. Down to 18 cards. It looks like they are going to do what they need to do. Not a blue spell. Tapping creatures. So we've missed 4 land drops. And they hit us with the 0-3. Okay. We're down to 12 cards. Not a land drop. Wow. Does not feel good. Looks like our opponent has us on this one. We are going to flash that, but I think it's too little too late here for us. Too little too late. I actually like this mill deck. This is a efficient mill strategy. And the opponent got it. Good game, opponent. And the opponent, just to show us that they have more than what they needed. All right, good game, opponent. Let's see how long we've been running here. All right. I think I'm going to go for about 2 hours. Which we have about another 45 minutes. 30 minutes, rather. Diogenes Cranucus. We have no turn 2 interaction, which is never really good, but I'm feeling a little lucky. We have a blue mana. Opponent has interactive cards in hand. We may have another... Oh boy. Okay. So we are going to play this differently now that we know what this deck is trying to do. We want to get our threats onto the field. Opponent will begin milling us. Okay, it seems we are up against the exact same deck here. So let's get our threats on the field and get cards in our hand. We now have a 6-turn clock unless our opponent does something to stop us. Last turn we had a Grazilax that just sat in our hand. Would have offered a nice threat. This turn we know more of what to do. We don't want to hold up counter spells. We have a protection now against our creatures if our opponent tries to do something. We now have a 3-turn clock on our opponent. More draw spells. And a mill spell. We will accept that. This deck seems to be milling a little bit faster. Okay. No real danger here, as of yet. They don't have their crab, which is probably what they want to see. We're going to go ahead and pull... No, don't evoke it. Well, I guess that's okay. Actually, because we can force them to play this and waste 2 mana. I'm going to much rather have the threat. And they respond with a negate. Okay. A 2-turn clock for us. Still a favorable position. I would have liked the unsummon held up. Opponent seems to be milling rather quickly. Okay. We would have really... So there'd been 6, 7. I don't think it would have been a different clock if we had Muldrifter out on the field anyways. So this deck seems to be able to mill us a lot quicker. Wow. Holy moly. This one is way more efficient. This is a way more efficient mill deck. We have a land. We could kill this. What is this at? 4? Did we just click through our combat step? Oh, man. Well, I think it was good game anyways, but... So we had a bit more of a chance. But this version I like a lot better. This one got there a lot quicker. A mill strategy I would enjoy playing. Let's go ahead and just commit suicide. So it won't let us draw. That's interesting. Hope our opponent caught that at the end there for a little laugh. Always good to have fun while playing, even if you're getting beaten by a mill deck or a deck playing counterspells. Have not done as good on camera. I have done a lot worse. That is unfortunate, but we will be back for another day. Kevin 1963. I recall this username. An amazing hand. We will keep it. Okay. Sacrifice a goblin, add red. So let's just go ahead and bounce. Just to keep our opponent on mana. Keeps them short, kind of bottlenecked on mana, rather. Okay. Now this turn, I think I just like dropping a threat. I'm not really concerned with what they're going to be playing. It seems like they have a bunch of 1/1s for us. So I'm taking a guess here and a slight risk at not holding up a counterspell. But I think it's early enough in the game. And if it is something I care about, I will just... So we got a haste. 3 damage to any target. Okay. Unfortunate. But we have the same clock with Brazen Borrower. And another Brazen Borrower. So we're going to find a land drop. We're going to hold up Brazen and a counterspell. Would counter anything that is a large threat, but it doesn't seem they have it. I'm assuming they have removal. Probably another lightning strike. We're going to have to test the waters. Bring on the lightning strike. No lightning strike. Now we'll be able to unsummon a goblin. That deserves a counterspell. Gonna unsummon a goblin. We're gonna take 2. And suddenly things open up for us if we draw something good. Counterspell is fine. Would have liked to draw on a land though, so we could use Brazen Borrow for its fullest potential. We have Counterspell. I almost like counterspelling the first goblin if he plays him. There's another Vanquisher's Banister that deserves a counterspell. And suddenly we have a race here with our opponent. Land is good. Now we're starting to see the power of Brazen Borrower, although weak to removal. That deserves a counterspell. sure. And suddenly we have a nice clock here for our opponent. See anything but a land, that's alright. Could have held it to bluff a counterspell, because our opponent is aware of our Brazen Borrower. Okay. That's fine. So now we are in top deck mode with our opponent and racing. Would really enjoy a Spectral Sailor or another Brazen Borrower or a draw spell. Wizard class, not a land. Down to 5. We're going to bluff a counterspell. I'm assuming our opponent will test us, because that's what they should do. If they top deck a Lightning Strike, we are in great trouble. Ooh. All right. Now we just need to draw a draw spell. Sort of good. So we really need to find something to stabilize the board. And that will not do it for us. Unlucky draws, but that's Magic. We have one turn, and that is game for our opponent. We definitely could have found the things that we needed. We still no, we're actually pretty far behind on this one. And Scorch Mark. Good game, opponent. Top decking what they need. I think I might cut a land. Because I had 26. We'll go to 25. Do we have more Spectral Sailors? Another Spectral Sailor. Would like some more disallows, but we have 9 counter spells. Another Mole Drifter actually is cool. We're running 61 again. Our curve is at 4, so not really concerned with flooding or short lands. Normally we can find our way out of a short land hand, but it rarely happens. In that game, though, we were punished. for running 26. No turn 2 interaction, but I am not feeling bad about this hand. And a tap land. We're always happy to see those. There's our land. We'd love to have a Brazen Borrower, but can't always get things. So I kind of just, because if we bounce it now, we won't be able to counter it later. So we're going to go ahead and just draw a card and offer a trade. No attacks into the 1/2 flyer. Going for aura spells. Our opponent thinking. Okay. Lifelink. Target creature determined goes protection of the color. Okay. So let's offer the trade. Opponent doesn't like trading. Play our wizard class. Holds up a counter spell. We would love to see a 5-drop. That deserves a counter. Opponent should attack with both. We'd like to see a land. There's our land. So now we can go counts bouncer, or bounce counter. Counts bouncer. That's hilarious. So it looks like our opponent has left us open for the attack. We don't like the flyer, even though the opponent can still race us. That deserves a counterspell. Now we just need to find Brazen Borrower. So next turn I think I'm going to crack the wizard class. Okay. Now they have lifelink and are attacking for 6-8 a turn. So this is not a good position. We really want to find a land and Brazen Borrower. We have found neither. I think we just attack with the 1. Hold up a trade. And the opponent is playing a lot of threats, so I think this one's getting away from us. Our life total is creeping lower and lower. Okay. So now we will definitely trade. Not a full out attack. We're always happy to trade. Get a Spectral Sailor in. Land drop. Let's go with our 3 to draw. Not a Brazen Borrower. Looks like we're going to have to chump with 1 Spectral. But we are very quickly dead here. If our opponent has an answer for our 1 blocker, and yeah, I think our opponent has it on this one. Do they all have trample? They do all have trample. It looks like that's game. Good game opponent. Could not keep up with the threats. Wondering if taking out Scion was a mistake, because the blocker and tapping a creature per turn is pretty useful. But I'm not going to make any hasty changes just yet. Okay, this is a decent hand. And our opponent has 97 cards after drawing 7. If they play a turn 1 Scrylands, alright, that's good for us. Add 1 mana. That's fine, we'll bounce that. A little tempo for you. Now we're in counterspell territory on turn 3, exactly where we want to be. That's fine. I'm already feeling good about this matchup. We have a clock on our opponent. Not going to put out a Grazilix just yet. Not sure what nasty 5-drops our opponent has. That is certainly worth a counterspell. We would like a land. There's a land. Seems our opponent is possibly going to try and time us out. That is an unfortunate side effect of playing against control. I'm assuming the theory is if I'm going to play a deck that draws the game out, then they're just going to time out. Either that or the opponent knows that their hand is very weak to counter spells from here on out. So these are the kind of decks that I seem to have a good game against with this deck. And it's pretty funny because, you know, I'm sure a deck like his has a good game against a fair creature deck, as it were. But, you know, that's Magic. Opponent is probably going to hold their turn again. Which is fine with us. We are over the 2-hour mark. So this might be the last game. And the opponent has conceded. All right. Arpeggiatura. It's a neat name. Okay, so we have a turn 2 bounce into double counterspell. Opponent has 104 cards in deck. We have another large deck. That simply will... This is exactly what we want to see. Turn 1 Scryland or turn 1 tap land. I'm guessing another early concession here, because these decks simply just cannot get on their feet. Conjurer is fine. I'll take 2. Does the opponent have... Okay. We'll unsummon your Conjurer. Get in for 1, play our land. Our opponent has showed us nothing else. Conjurer. Sure, we'll let them keep it for a turn. Just to see more cards. 5. So now we can bounce the Conjurer if they attack and have a counterspell. Sure. Questionable play by our opponent. There's Brazen Borrower. Always happy to see you. Get in for one. Have bounce and counter. Not sure what the opponent's plan is. It looks like they're going for a large spell. Let's go ahead and counter that. I'm not sure if we even really care about it, but we are well above our resources here. Let's go ahead and just bounce the Conjurer, which will set them back a turn. Get in for one. I kind of like using my draw to find... Yeah, let's evoke Mulldrifter. Draw 2 cards, hopefully a land drop. No land drop. That is unfortunate. So we have to hold up Come to a River. If they play a hexproof creature... Okay, that's fine. End of turn, bounce it. There's our land drop we needed. Gonna go ahead and play Wizard class. Hold up our counters. Probably should use our Charm to Sleep on that after it hits, but I like just countering. Oh, Wizard class as well. Okay. I like attacking. Drawing some cards to get a land drop. More than enough counters to end the game. Sure, have your Clever Conjurer again. Draw some cards. We could disallow that, but would rather just counter whatever they have. End of turn. We're going to flash and Brazen Borrower. Speed up our clock. Gonna evoke Mulldrifter again. Get our land drop. There's our land drop. More counter magic. And I think it's safe to say we have the game sealed up at this point. Opponent sizing up our creatures. Simply cannot allow that to happen. And our opponent concedes. Good game. Once again, these 80, 90, 100 card plus decks are just simply what we are looking to be against. We also can take advantage of some slower mid-range decks. But, you know, that's Magic. Every matchup can't be good for us, and vice versa. All right, we have turn 1 spectral, turn 2 bounce, and a turn 3 counter. Here we have another larger card deck. Hopefully no turn 2 plays like the insect generator. I forget its name. And another abundant harvest. Okay, looking good for us. And this is exactly where we want to be. Bouncing your 3-drop. To okay. Sure, find more land. I kind of do just like playing out the Cloudkin, because I have a feeling my opponent just has more removal or more ramp. But just to be safe, we're going to hold up a counter spell. No reason to speed up the clock just yet. Okay. So we should have played our Cloudkin, but that's okay because we drew a land, so we'll soon be able to play it and hold up a counter. Looking to counter any big juicy threats. That is worth a counter spell. A 2/3 with reach really messes up our game. Land to the bottom. We have our land drop. Want to be very specific with our land drops. All right. Now we can go ahead. Actually, yeah. We're going to bounce and counter that. Opponent doesn't seem to have any life gain. Except for this. Okay. Yep. So once again, we probably should have played our Cloudkins here, but we still are in good shape. So now we're going to have to race this Ramunap Excavator. We're going to have to find another counterspell. We have a Charmed Sleep for one of the big boys, so we can let one through. There's our land. We would like to see some action, like Brazen Borrower. That was a misplay, but luckily Brazen Borrower gives us our clock and bounce. Our opponent's probably going to go for the big boy, which we'll let him have. It's probably going to get in for 2, which is completely fine with us at this point. now we go bounce and get Brazen Borrower in. Opponent starting to see the writing on the wall. Unsummon is good for us. Hopefully we draw a land and then we'll have counter and unsummon held up. There's our land. Now if our opponent doesn't do anything too crazy, we can just draw a card from Spectral Sailor, put the Charm Sleep on the giant, and we have a turn 2 clock. Okay, so that turns our clock into a couple more turns, which is fine. There's the annoying insect generator. Opponent's probably going to get in for 2. Completely fine with us. Grazilix is pretty good. Speeds up our clock, draws us a card. There's our land drop. Could have Charm Sleep the Ramunap Excavator, but he's far from endangering us anytime soon. We don't have a counter spell, but Unsummon and Charm Sleep is well enough good for me. Okay. A big threat, which I'm not worried about. 8, 9. He could gain 2 life, which puts him at 9, which we still have lethal. So if we unsummon the big boy and then Charm Sleep the Ramunap Excavator, we have lethal. Only problem is, okay, that's fine. Looks like we have this game wrapped up. So we're going to go ahead and just draw a card. Opt, perfect. Counterspell, love it. Now we bounce your big boy. Charm Sleep your Excavator. And get in for the win. All right, having better luck with these last couple games. It's a good way to end it. I always like to go until I lose. So let's get another one. Doesn't seem I'm getting any more rewards, which is sort of suspicious. I don't know what that's about. Maybe I'm punished. I'm being punished for being a dirty blue boy. Not really sure. Lord 2029. We have our opponent. We have Spectral Sailor on turn 1, Opt. I like this hand. Whoa. Opponent has 243 cards. So I'm going to say that we have this game, even though we don't have any turn 2 interactions. You know, these 243, I find it hilarious. They have to play all of these scry lands to make this work. So we're just going to get out Spectral Sailor and start with our clock. And of course, they don't have any turn 1 plays because their deck is so large. I like Wizard class. We have Opt next turn. And I would be surprised if our opponent has a turn 2 play. And this is kind of the speculation of Arena balancing hands. So even though your deck is so big, it's going to give you a balanced hand. And I'm almost assuming they're going to have a turn 2 play. So this is kind of one of the things I was talking about at the beginning of the video, which... Okay, yeah, that's fine. So lots of card draw to set up their deck. Don't want to land. We want some action. Not another land. There's some action. And suddenly it is looking really good for us. Looks like they are passing the turn. Or they did pass the turn. I had to check my phone for a second. I do like evoking, but I still would really be unfortunate if they played a turn 4 creature that like that one. So luckily we held up our counterspell there and didn't give into the temptation to take advantage of their large deck. And a 20 turn clock doesn't feel bad, oddly enough. 5. So we still have to hold up our counterspell before we can evoke or use Wizard class. Looks like they don't have any plays, which is unfortunate for them. Cast your first instant or source spell each turn. Copy that. I don't like that. So this turn we have to draw some cards to find a land drop. There we go. I like getting our clock on the board, and whatever they play, we can just bounce next turn. So, opponents can't gain life. They're going to hit our creature, which is fine. We have a counterspell waiting for you. There's Brazen Barber, our hero. We're going to go ahead and bounce this boy. Hold up our counterspell. Enters the battlefield if it was kicked. Create 2 tokens that are a copy of Sky Cliff. Add 1 mana of any color. Sure. So, a bunch of mana for you. We get to flash and Brazen Borrower. I just like getting our speed on the board here. We have our counterspell waiting. Let's evoke Mole Drifter. Counterspell for you. Let's go ahead and get a 1/1 Goblin. Speeds up our clock. I believe they have the big boy now. Sort of unfortunate, but we still have them in a race. So I can either evoke Mole Drifter or play Grazilix. I like playing Grazilix. So they can do 2 damage to us. So yeah, let's speed up our clock. This will allow us to draw a card when we connect. So if they want to attack, hopefully we find a bounce spell. Another Brazen Borrower would be great. 5, okay. Starting to run a little short here. Still not in a bad position. This gives us a chance to find a bounce. There's our bounce spell. Okay. So we take 2. I'm almost interested in just taking 5 from this thing. Trample. We can't really do anything about that, so that has to hit. We bounce your big boy. Next turn we can contact other plane to find answers. And I like this position. Looks like our opponent has something. We're going to draw a card. Hopefully a counter or bounce lands. Not exactly what we wanted. So now I think I would rather contact other plane. Draw 2 cards. A little unfortunate. There's our hero. And I think it's fair to say this game is sealed up unless they have a board wipe. I think our opponent might concede with this bounce. I have a feeling. Oh, the opponent is going to pass respectively, it seems. They're looking at their hand to see what they can do. That's fine. We remember him. That's fine as well. And the opponent concedes. All right. Okay. Let's go for one more. Win or lose. All right, that's a keeper. 55 cards for the opponent, just over 60. Can expect some turn 1 or 2 plays. It appears they might be mulliganing. Okay. I'd rather just flash in Spectral Sailor than opt because our hand is good enough to get us through the first couple turns. Okay, that's not a good thing for us. Creatures for them means life, and that kind of negates our 1 damage here. I'm going to go ahead and bounce this because I really just don't want them gaining life next turn off of 2 1-drops, for example. Kind of starts to get out of hand. Yeah, so they are about to life gain. And now we have set them back enough, it would seem. Okay. That one's fine. Kind of just want to keep them playing things without gaining life. Opponent unfortunately stuck on 2 lands. I'm sure they are not thrilled about that. We've kept them off the life gain for as long as we could. Looks like there's going to Johnny's Welcome. Nothing really we can do about that. That, however, we can counter. Grazilix is good. Speeds up our clock. Opponent gets in for 2. This draws us a card, hopefully a counterspell. Land drops are not bad. Okay. So we're really going to have to jam our clock here, because our opponent is setting up. We really want to find some bounce. And we're going to have to start eating damage. Opponent with a full hand. Offer the trade because I know they want to keep that 3-3. Even though it draws us a card. Hope to find something good, like a counterspell. Spectral Sailor is okay. Opponent playing into our counterspells, like a boss. Lifelink and haste. Okay, the opponent is really catching up with us. Yeah, this is not what we wanted to see. I think we're going to trade our Spectral Sailor. Oh. That's unfortunate. But at least we're speeding up our clock here. Yeah, I actually don't think we can keep up with their life gain and counters. I think this is going to be a loss for us. Okay, they lost life. Ooh, that was a really good draw for us. So now we hold back a blocker for their lifelink and haste. We bounce their 7/7, which we will counter next turn. Ooh, and we suddenly just turn the tide on them. Suddenly, yeah. Want a 1/1 goblin, which we can trade instead of our Spectral Sailor. Think they're going to go for the life gain. If they don't, they're desperate to find something. Gain 3. Does this have menace? No. They want the life gain. I think our wizard class just beats them out of the life gain. With our counters and drawing cards, there's our counter spell. And another Brazen Borrower. I think this game is locked up. We have to be careful with our attacks. I think just drawing cards is good here. But I want to hold up a counter spell because if they play a creature, they gain some life. And we can counter and bounce something. It's exactly where we want to be. And Wizard class coming back to turn the game around. Draw 2 cards. Yep, and we're going to counter that because they simply just put themselves way too behind on that one. And I think that's game. We're going to bounce his life gainer. Yep, opponent concedes. All right. That one, I felt like we did something there. We got lucky, and we upgraded wizard class at the correct time. All right, I think I'm going to end it there. And I will be back soon. And have a good night, day, whatever it is for you. Hope you have fun playing Magic.